Today's lesson is about using pain and discomfort as a way to improve our technique and to point us in the right direction, avoid injury, and just keep progressing with our kettlebell lifting. Not all pain is a warning sign of injury. Some pain is part of the process and it's an acclimation. We have to distinguish between a joint injury pain and just a muscle or a soft tissue acclimation. We'll address 6 different individual pains in different places in the body, and from my experience as a coach, what they tell me. I just want to put a quick warning in this: aches, pains, see your doctor, get clearance. Don't take anything for granted. What we're going to present here today is based on my experience with my lifters. First, elbow pain. Elbow pain, commonly referred to as tennis elbow, tendinopathy, epicondylitis, forearm attachment into the elbow and kind of the bottom of the bicep. It can happen for 2 different reasons, 2 different causes. The drop in the clean, the drop in the snatch, or even improper timing in the swing cause a tug, an undue tug on this joint. We'll show it with the clean. It's very easy to see. We drop the bell, and the bell is moving faster than the hand, and there's a tug. A tug. Instead of everything, the bell and the body moving at the same time, and seamless. The way to get the seamlessness to occur is to start the motion with the body instead of pitching the bell out. Instead of pitching the bell and dealing with the tug, start the motion by folding in half with the body. So the body and the bell and the hand and the bell are moving at the same speed. Seamless. Seamless. From the snatch, same thing. Body and the bell are moving simultaneously. So that's usually a timing issue. The other reason we see pain in this part of the elbow is keeping the arm bent throughout the whole motion, and I can demonstrate that very clearly in the swing. In the swing, you'll see if I keep my arm bent like that, I'm putting a lot of stress, lots of stress right here. So as the bell drops, the arm straightens. The elbow bend is there on the way up, but keeping an elbow bend like this will result in pain right there. Let the arm completely relax, act as a chain, a hook. 2 reasons for the elbow pain and 2 causes and 2 fixes. Next we'll deal with low back pain. Low back pain is typically from using too much posterior chain and not enough legs. The clean and the snatch is where that's going to occur. So I'll demonstrate. Yeah, you see, now I'm swinging the bell, and I'm not using any legs really whatsoever. It's almost all back. So I'm using my back totally as a fulcrum. When I drop the bell, that's fine. On the way down, minimal knee bend, a lot of hip hinge. On the way up, I deliberately bend my knees a little bit and straighten them, and that engages the quads as the first thing that moves the bell with the momentum. Knee bend, straighten. So it's the equivalent of a dip and a pop that you experience in the push press and the jerk. So on all 3, swing, clean, snatch, that's the motion we're looking for. In the swing, dip, straighten, bend, straighten. It's subtle, but strong. In the clean, same thing. And ultimately in the snatch, so it prevents the lower back, the posterior chain, being the only thing that's moving that bell. It's the momentum and that knee bend and knee extension. Forearm pain, up next. Forearm pain can be 2 different things that occur. top of the forearm, belly of the forearm. We'll address the belly of the forearm first. We can see it in the rack position. If we keep too straight a wrist, it flexes the forearm muscles. Relax the wrist, get under the bell, relaxes the forearm. So that flexed wrist is notorious for fatiguing and creating that cement forearm. Relax the wrist, get under the bell, balance it on the hip of the palm. Elbow sits on the hip. Relaxed. Relaxed forearm. Same thing in the lockout position. No reason to pull that forearm tight. Relax, pull that wrist tight. Relax the hand, relax the wrist, soften the forearm. That's reason one. Now, the pain in the top of the forearm is kind of interrelated with that. Now, the smaller, bonier portion of the forearm muscle on the top of the forearm, if that bell rests too much on that spot, it's going to cause discomfort and pain. Now, some is unavoidable. Now, again, it's the straight wrist. Straighten the wrist, and you pull the bell up to sit in a different spot. Relax the wrist, allows the bell to angle down and sit in the medial part of the forearm and more in the rack, healthier in the rack with the bicep and the shoulder getting some of the load. The same thing in the lockout. If we flex the forearm, flex the wrist, the bell sits on the bony part. Relax on the meaty part. Knee pain. Knee pain usually is a sign there's something going on with the stance that's not correct. So the feet, hip width apart, slightly wider, kind of the place where you would jump from is the optimal stance for the feet. Okay, so we pick that spot, the place where we jump from, the most stable position. Now we have to address not just the width, but how our feet are turned in or our feet are turned out. And that's more of a function of what's going on with the thigh bone and the hip joint. If you're a person that walks with the feet out, the feet in. But either way, we have to make sure that those knees track over the toes when we dip and pop in the Jericho push press. So in that Jericho push press, it's important that the knees track over the toes, just like in a squat, and up. We don't want those knees bowing in or bending out. Okay? If any of those things are happening, it's going to put undue strain and tension on the tendons and ligaments of the knee. So a straight track of the knee over the toe is one of the ways to fix some knee pain from jerking. The other thing that we experience is when you clean two kettlebells, sometimes it's not, it doesn't feel like there's adequate room between the legs to get those bells to clear, not hit the knees. So one of the ways to create more clearance is to not rotate the thumbs back in the clean, back on the 45-degree angle, but actually to take the thumbs and let them stay forward, and then I'll demonstrate with two bells. Thumbs forward in the clean allows you to keep the legs a little closer together, a little more clearance. Okay? Okay, so that thumb forward position allows you to not have to feel like you have to go so wide to not hit the knees. And it also stops you from rolling out on the sides of the feet. Now the rolling out puts undue stress on the outside of the knees, and that's another knee pain that we can deal with. Next up is groin pain. Groin pain is not as a common occurrence, but it's usually the same issue. The stance is too wide. You have to re-examine the stance. Look at that jump position once again, look how the feet are turned in or out, and adjust that stance for optimal piston-like motion in the jerk. Not too wide, which is a leak and puts undue stress on the groin and the adductor muscles. Bring the feet closer together and find that perfect position, the most comfortable. If you're experiencing groin pain, you need to find the position that won't cause that. And again, the 2-arm long cycle, if you're cleaning 2 bells between the legs and you're opening up too wide to accommodate, is another reason for groin pain. Basically, we got to get that stance a little narrower. That should be a clear signal your stance is too wide. Now, last up on our list is shoulders. Now, we'll talk about shoulder pain, but not so much from causes and fixes, but from weaknesses. The 2 things that the shoulders will experience are lack of stability or lack of flexibility. And they're very opposite fixes. Typically with women, you'll see the lack of stability, and with men, you'll see the lack of flexibility. And a lot of times with the non-dominant arm, you'll see the lack of stability. Okay, so let's look at the flexibility issue first. The flexibility issue usually results in not being able to lock out properly. Either the arm is forward or out that way and the elbow is bent. Either way, there's tightness in the shoulder joint. And the way I like to address it first is work with a lighter kettlebell in the jerk or push press. Slow assist sets where the bell can be put into the proper lockout position or as close as the lifter can get and stretch the muscles and tendons that need to be opened gradually with a very light bell. If the lightest bell is still too heavy to do that, well, let's use a little medicine ball. Okay? So that's one of the ways to work that out. Now, if stability is the issue, strength, really what we're talking about, the lighter kettlebell with just push presses or presses until that lifter develops enough stability to ballistically jump onto the kettlebell in the jerk. So if we just push pressed, slow, holding lockout, this time for a different reason, to develop strength. So ironically, the fix for stability and flexibility are slow, light sets where the lockout fixation is held. Now, if the lightest bell is too heavy for a new lifter, we resort to a light medicine ball. This is 6 pounds. Developing that stability in lockout. Now, one more thing about flexibility with the shoulders. There's a couple of other movements we can deal with, we can do. An exercise that's a leftover from my first book, the Firefighter's Workout book. It's called the pullover stretch. I have a nice low resistance band here, and I'm going to hold it wider than shoulder width apart, and palms are facing rearward. We rotate over the head nice and slowly, open the shoulders. Rotate back. It's great for opening the shoulders. The simple pullover stretch. One of the other movements that I like to demonstrate is a wall stretch. We're just going to stand up against the wall right here. The kettlebells provide just about the right distance for my feet to be away from the wall. When I'm up against the wall here, there's going to be an arch in my low back. My heels are about 6 or 8 inches away from the wall itself. I flatten my low back with an abdominal flex. My pelvis tilts forward, flattens my lower back against the wall. I now put my head against the wall. Now I take the thumb side of my hands and either in a V or straight overhead, if I can, press the thumb side against the wall. Opens up the shoulder joints, flexes the back, the upper shoulders, stretches the front. If I could work up to 30 seconds twice a day, it would go a long way to opening the shoulders. So today, our lesson really was about taking the different pains or weaknesses that we experience, using them to pinpoint where technique or our focus needs to go, and using that to ultimately make ourselves better kettlebell lifters. Thank you.